It's an amazing...
August 25th, 2026. Zeist. Xavi Hernández appears in front of the press for the first time as the new Netherlands head coach. Just think about that. He is the first foreign manager of Oranje in almost 50 years. And almost immediately, he draws a line under the past. He is asked about the 5-defender system Ronald Koeman used when the Netherlands were knocked out by Morocco at the World Cup. Xavi replies,
5 defenders? That doesn't fit my football philosophy.
And then he promises to build a brave team that will dominate and take the initiative with the ball. Wait, so the country of Johan Cruyff and Rinus Michels has hired a Spaniard to restore its attacking football identity? Sounds strange, but only at first. The Netherlands' problem is not that the national team has suddenly become weak. They reached the semi-finals of Euro 2024, qualified comfortably for the 2026 World Cup, and scored 10 goals in the group stage. It looks like the KNVB are trying to bring back not the results, but the feeling of how Oranje are supposed to play. And the most interesting part? Xavi may actually be the most foreign coach they could possibly have chosen. To understand why, let's look at what exactly the Netherlands are trying to save. The Netherlands are not in a football crisis. Under Koeman, they reached the semi-finals of Euro 2024, drew 5-5 on aggregate with Spain, and at the 2026 World Cup, they won their group, scoring 10 goals. And then came the match against Morocco. In the very first knockout round, Koeman suddenly changes his usual structure to a 5-2-3, drops Tijani Reinders, and brings in an extra defender, Nathan Ake. The reason is understandable. The coach was worried about how much space the team was leaving for opponents. But it had the opposite effect. The Netherlands handed control to Morocco, had the ball for only around a third of the match, and created almost nothing in the first half. Even Morocco's coach was surprised by how cautious Oranje's plan was. After the defeat, Koeman said, "If I had to do it again, I would do the same thing." And just a few weeks later, Xavi answers directly. 5 defenders do not fit my philosophy. Now that is a real conflict. The KNVB want to bring back not just results, but the feeling that the Netherlands themselves dictate the match. So why trust that job to a Spaniard? The answer is in where Xavi's football actually comes from. And this is where the main paradox of the whole story is hiding. Xavi is Spanish, but the football philosophy he grew up with came to Barcelona largely from the Netherlands. After taking the job, Xavi himself said,
"You could say I am, in a way, a son of Dutch football."
And that is not just a nice line for the presentation. Rinus Michels and Johan Cruyff brought the ideas of positional football and space control to Barcelona. Xavi himself made his first team debut under Louis van Gaal, then played under Frank Rijkaard, and later became the central figure of Guardiola's team. So it almost becomes a full circle. Michels and Cruyff to Barcelona, to Xavi, to Netherlands. And Xavi's ideas really are similar, keeping the ball not for the sake of possession statistics, but to stretch the opponent, create a free player between the lines, and win the ball back quickly after losing it. One more important point. His title-winning Barcelona side in 2022-23 conceded only 18 goals in 38 matches. So Xavi's attacking philosophy does not automatically mean chaos in defense. In other words, the KNVB have effectively hired a Spaniard who grew up with ideas that the Netherlands themselves once exported. Beautiful, isn't it? But there is one detail that slightly ruins this romantic story. Xavi was not actually the KNVB's first choice. And this is where the romance ends. Xavi really was not the Netherlands' first choice. Nigel de Jong later revealed the shortlist. First, the KNVB wanted Pep Guardiola. He chose to take a break. Then the Federation held 2 conversations with Arne Slot, but he decided to stay in club football. And only after that did the choice come down to Xavi and Michael Reiziger. Xavi himself reacted with humor.
It's not bad to come after Pep Guardiola and Arne Slot, right? At least we're on the podium.
But that shortlist says much more than it seems. Guardiola, Slot, and Xavi are different coaches, but they are all united by one idea: The team should control the game and force the opponent to play on their terms. Nigel de Jong explained it directly. For the KNVB, nationality mattered less than the quality of the coach and how well he matched the style they wanted. Even Xavi's staff was built around the same principle. Alongside his people from Barcelona are Ruud van Nistelrooy, Adil Ramsey, and Patrick Lodewijks. So the Netherlands were looking for a specific type of football, and they found it in Xavi. But I do have some doubts. It is one thing to teach this system to a club every day, and it is something completely different to teach it to a national team for just a few weeks a year. I'm afraid my doubts are starting to look pretty real. As of today, Xavi has managed exactly 0 matches with the Netherlands. So we can explain why the KNVB chose him, but we still cannot say at all that this idea actually works. And there's an even bigger problem. Xavi's football requires constant repetition. Where to move, when to stretch the pitch, who presses after losing the ball. At Barcelona, you can work on that every day. With the national team, he only gets a few training sessions between matches. And Xavi himself is far from perfect too. After winning the title, his Barcelona finished the following season without a trophy, 10 points behind Real Madrid. And the story ended with a pretty chaotic dismissal. And finally, let's not forget that Koeman did not switch to a 5-2-3 simply because he was scared. He was worried about the space Oranje were leaving for opponents. So Xavi's real test is this. Can he bring the Netherlands' courage back without bringing their old defensive problems back with it? We will get the first answer very soon, on September 24th against Germany. So why did the Netherlands trust a Spaniard with their football identity? Because in Xavi's case, nationality is almost misleading. His football grew out of the ideas of Michels, Cruyff, Van Gaal, and Rijkaard, the very people who connected the Dutch school with Barcelona. So the KNVB are not trying to replace Dutch football with Spanish football. Instead, the federation wants to bring its own ideas back in a modern version. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Xavi was only the 3rd choice after Guardiola and Slot. He has never coached a national team before, and he still has not managed a single match with Oranje. So right now, only one thing has been proven. There really is logic behind the appointment. But can Xavi turn a beautiful philosophy into wins? The first serious answer will come against Germany on September 24th.